all them people them sell it gun. What they treat the market man, it gun. What them a treat the cat man, it gun. What they treat the peanut man, it gun. What them a treat the dirt man, it gun. What them a treat the sun man, it gun. What them a treat policeman, it gun.
Well, my party people in the house here ready for this. Global TV, me say we're ready for this. The latest, it's say we're ready for this. Boom, bam, bam. One global TV, man. Dan English said that. Don't touch this lion.
Good evening and welcome. Tell Chris Tufton said the problem where I have looked right very much closer to him because I'm friend office it in. Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Like and share the live, please, because we're going to Portland tonight. Go find out a wagwan up there between the vases and Stephen. If you remember, Stephen was that councillor they replaced for the St. Margaret's Bay division before the local election, where Andrew was to wait until Darrell does his chop and change and replacements before Andrew could call the election. We will dive into some information that Mr. Williams put out today, and I can tell you from now, at some point next week, Mr. Williams will be on global TV to tell his side of the story. Good night to everyone. Good night to the X, the Twitch, Facebook, on YouTube. Good night and welcome. Good night to all my family members. Good night to the community of parity. Good night to all my moderators. Good night to all my subscribers and supporters. Good night to everyone on the live. Good night to everyone in the chat. Good night. Good night. It is your people point of view. Good night and welcome. Good evening, Debbie Jervis. Good evening to Angela Forster, rather. Good evening. Let me go over again. Arlene Foster. Good evening. Good evening to Amazing Grace Sunshine. Good evening and welcome. Beat and Teach. Good evening and welcome. Sim. Good evening. Cousin Jamie. Good evening and welcome. Pamela McNeil. Prof. Gorgeous Lady. JP. Good evening and welcome. Good evening to you all. Thank you all for joining. Michelle Lewis Wilson. Good evening. Good evening to Millie McBean. Good evening, Jay. Good evening, James. Gloria Morris, good evening. JP, good evening. Good evening, all. Good evening, everyone, and welcome, Mary Messenger. Good evening, Rebel with a Cause. Good evening. Like and share the live, please. Abina Sudoki. Good evening, Elijah B. Ubuntu, Bros. Good evening. Good evening, Denise Hall. Good evening. Good evening, Winston Darkins. Good evening to Pamela Okola. Good evening, all, and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Much of what was going on with the magisterial recount in Westmoreland, I'm only been made aware this evening of the same situation in Chris Tufton's constituency. But Chris Tufton was on Nationwide at 5, and tomorrow I'm going to cut out the whole bit to play it in full, but some of it that I catch just now in my haste of trying to get it done in time for the show. Yeah, easy jerk world. Manners and respect, bro. Jamaican Carlos Anthony R. Always observing. Natalia Freeman and everyone. Good evening and welcome. I'm going to play for you little bits that I cut out, that I managed to cut out. Delroy Henry, good evening. But I promise to bring it to you in full tomorrow morning on Drive Time London, and At a Glance program. But let's listen into Chris Tufton on Nationwide for a bit. Lilith Foster, good evening and welcome.
Good afternoon, Franklin. It's been a long time. The Monday, as Tara would say, the Monday called teacher.
It's been a long time, but I'm happy to be here.
Okay, we're going to be touching on more election matters, more local government election matters. There is a bit of a standoff in the Ginger Ridge division for the West Central St. Catherine constituency, where Member of Parliament Dr. Christopher Tufton says the JLP remains doubtful about the results in several divisions in the constituency following the February 26 local government elections. In Ginger Ridge, the JLP has sought a recount after Jeremiah Edwards lost to the PNP's Ralston Wilson by 8 votes.
So today we concluded on the magisterial recount of the Ginger Ridge division of the constituency of St. Catherine West Central, where the conclusion is that the Jamaica Labour Party in the Ginger Ridge division, represented by Jeremiah Edwards, has gotten 1,111 votes to the People's National Party candidate, which, according to the final magisterial recount numbers, 1,118 votes, so a 7-vote difference. The issue for us, as it relates to the Ginger Ridge division, is that we do not have confidence in the outcome of these numbers, this particular process, and we remain very skeptical about the end result.
That's Christopher Tufton. In 2016, the PNP had won that seat by a margin of 18 votes when they then retained the seat for a second consecutive win this afternoon. Dr. Tufton says the JLP will be filing an election petition.
We are not confident that the will of the people through the majority vote, one man, one vote, has been expressed. And as it is our right, we intend to take it to the next level, which is an election petition. And the lawyers have advised, so I was not present, so I go based on their evidence. Confident in the outcome of these numbers, this particular process, and we remain very skeptical about the end result.
That's Christopher Tufton. In 2016, the PNP had won that seat by a margin of 18 votes when they then retained the seat for a second consecutive win this afternoon. Dr. Tufton says the JLP will be filing an election petition.
We are not confident that the will of the people through the majority vote, one man, one vote, has been expressed. And as it is our right, we intend to take it to the next level, which is an election petition. And the lawyers have advised, so I was not present, so I go based on their evidence that they have gathered and their position, the position that they have taken.
That's Dr. Christopher Tufton.
Dr. Christopher Tufton.
He joins us now to discuss this further. Good afternoon, Dr. Tufton.
Hi, how are you?
Doing quite well. Dr. Tufton, this is quite extraordinary. I know it's happened before, but most times it goes to a magisterial recount. That's the last we hear of it. But now you have decided to go further. What exactly are your concerns about the process? Because you've raised the process into question.
So let me clarify a few things just for context. Firstly, the constituency of West Central St. Catherine has 4 divisions. We won 3 of the 4, which we held, and with a majority of 2,000 votes. So the will of the people in terms of an absolute number of votes for the constituency is not in question. They prefer Jamaica Labour Party, and in this case, stewardship of myself as MP. The 4th, the Ginger Ridge division is one of 4, and that's the one where we have a number of issues, which led to my comments today. That division, as an incumbent who has been around for a very long time, is the actual deputy mayor of the St. Catherine Municipal Authority. Yes, last time we lost by about 16 votes. I had actually won it in my general by over 300 votes. So we do have critical support on the ground in the constituency, in the division. The challenge with this situation here is that on the night of the elections, we won it by 12 votes. Then at the final count, which is the count that takes place at the electoral office in Tufton, we lost it by 8. And we lost it by 8 because ballots were not accepted, which previously we thought should have been based on the marcation on the ballot. We felt that there were sufficient ballots which clearly showed voter intent, and there's a long history with that, which I think has to be dealt with in legislation. But the truth is, in many jurisdictions, once the voter intent is determined, a tick, for example, as opposed to an X is accepted. Nevertheless, we were placed at a disadvantage with that. So we decided to go to the magisterial recount. A day after the formal count, the returning officer somehow identified a ballot in support of the opponent. She called our representative to say that she found this ballot and she was going to add it to one of the boxes. We objected. She did it nevertheless. When we went to the magisterial recount, a number of irregularities were identified. We had 3 lawyers at the final count who took copious notes on all the rejected ballots with the intention of raising our issues at the magisterial recount at the courts. Though many of those ballots were obviously tampered with when they reached to the courts. So, for example, a ballot with 1 tick beside our candidate's name, which we intended to add showed voter intent, ended up with 2 ticks at the courthouse, clearly indicating that some additional marcation was added to the particular ballot. The envelopes, the seals were missing, which meant access to the ballot during the period of time from the final count to the magisterial recount. There were issues around access to keys, which would open the boxes, suggesting a breach of security around securing those ballots. A statement of poll was missing. And in one case, ballots had the missing signature of the presiding officer. It was torn off. We had to argue. We did get the court to admit some of those ballots.
One second. Let me just play you another little clip.
To suggest that the security of the ballots between the final count in Tufton and the recount and the magisterial recount was not guaranteed, and there was enough evidence to support the likelihood and in some instances tangible evidence to support ballot tampering, which is a very serious breach, and it to our mind challenges or undermines the will of the people, which is the substantial point that I believe we need to pursue. I have no issues if the process is fair and the people choose a candidate that is not my own. But in this instance, we feel very strongly that the process had too many loopholes, and there is evidence that a lot could have happened between the final count and the magisterial recount.
Okay, stay with us before you go on, Franklin. Stay with us. We have a break, Dr. Tufton. We'll be right back.
Right. Dr. Tufton issue here is with the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. Rose East, good evening and welcome. Tada Charlie, good evening and welcome. Rose East, good evening and welcome. Angela 48349, good evening and welcome. Good evening, Head Teacher K. Good evening and welcome. How are you? Thank you for joining us. And just a little housekeeping. Please assist the channel by watching the ads when the ads comes on, please. That would really support the channel. But Chris Tufton, veteran, where you the veteran must have sleep. Veteran 8 driver agency 5 and all them. Sleeping, gone to bed early. But Chris Tufton problem, Elijah B, with the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, Natalia Freeman, is with his very prime minister. One, the prime minister has taken an independent organization into his office, which should be independently regulating our election independently of the government. The prime minister went even further, Baron Muir. I really saw it go for two, Baron. The prime minister even went further just before the local government election. Took 72 hours bill to parliament and have it made in law within around 72 hours. Removing the office of the ombudsman, which he destructed from 2002 November. He merged it with the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, which is two independent bodies, which ought to be doing two separate things independent of government. One, your Electoral Commission are there to regulate and administer your election. Errol Clark, good evening. And your Office of the Public Ombudsman is there to police all your public officials from your prime minister right down. All of your public officials. This election is one of the most confusing we've ever had. One that the result doesn't make sense for a lot of us at the moment, Lennox Reed, in the way it's been handled and been reported to us. Who do we report to now? Who do we ask to investigate these problems? There's two separate magisterial recount. The JLP candidate who lost the election sued the People's National Party candidate for a magisterial recount, and that went through the parish courts over a 2-day period. It concluded today, and the People's National Party, Donette Foster, was declared the winner. You have a similar situation, albeit with different facts surrounding ballot counting regulation and all that in the Ginger Ridge division in Chris Tufton's constituency. The magisterial recount for this seat is completed, but Chris Tufton is not happy. So Chris Tufton is going to take it further. Chris Tufton is going to take it further by way of an election petition. So let's see how far he decides to take it. But this is a consequences of the Andrew Holness-led regime who destructed the office of the political ombudsman. And therefore, we are limited in the pursuit of holding politicians to account by that way of investigation. One that is very relevant at this point, Rosemary Samuels. Good evening and welcome to all of this election saga that is going on. That independent body that would be taking your complaint and investigating your complaint now is locked in the very office that is causing the debacle. The director of election walked in the room, confused us, walked out of the room silently, and left us all in confusion. Continues across the country, given what we saw at KSMC over the last how much of hours, where a councillor rather, stepped away from the Jamaica Labour Party, breaking the tie, went independent, and it caused a wealth of blood pressure and heartache. Kate M. Share, like, and share the live, please, peeps. Like and share the live for me, please. Colin Jones, good evening and welcome. Caused a swelter of heartache, dropping and bawling and wallowing upon floor. And within hours, in a changed tone of voice, a tone of voice sound of someone under duress, a tone of voice sounding like someone who has been coerced. He has re-emerged as a member of the Labour Party. Not only that, but no clarification given to his family who want him to step away because he is fed up. Phone transfer. Good evening and welcome. He is fed up of the disrespect and all that, but within the throwing of the tantrum, he then came back with an apology. And I'm just going to refresh you because you must always keep these people in focus, because them tell we lie at day and them tell we lie at night. Just look at how they answer the questions. Just look at how they answer the questions in the standing committee. Look at how they answer the question. Continuous skirting around the issue without a direct answer. Even when a question demands a yes or no answer, they will take you all the way in circles. But refresh yourself on this whole KMC debacle and ask yourself the question: does he sound like he is doing it because he made a mistake, or the issue he had when he stepped aside was dealt with?
Of it, and I've walked away. So officially, I am an independent until I return to Jamaica on the 3rd. I am leaving here tomorrow morning, and I will return on the 3rd. I am tired of the disrespect, and I am going no further with it. Sorry that I may have disappointed some of you in this group, because I know a lot of you, look up to me and see me as somebody you can, talk to, somebody you would like to have around. but the cup is full and my heart is overflowing, and my family say I should walk, and I'm walking. Sorry for the disappointment I may have caused some of you, but life goes on. Okay.
Tell you something, naughty people. This really hurt me. I'm going to talk. You understand? Because I couldn't believe say anything that they do with this. You understand? Me couldn't believe say, and all the Ennis are going to say disrespect on this. And just because Ennis not get deputy mayor again, and Delroy get it. And if we say we are labor right, regardless of what, you not do your party this, and you not do your MP this, and you not do your constituency this, to care where you want to say. That means say you never have the Jamaica Labour Party 2020, and we are going to go down there, go sign as mayor. And one are going to be deputy, and one are going to be mayor. And two them, the PMP them, that's when you take the seat and you give the blood clot PMP them. Because I take it and give it. You give the PMP them the council as much as we did at JLP and PMP. Because of the two who that they are running, you take it and you give the PMP them and you come and tell you, know. So you're fucking labor, right? Me tell you anything, me tell you grieve, you baby heart grieve. And they can't send this to me, I tell you. Me tell you, me don't know. Me never expect this prior. Regardless of why you shouldn't do the Labour Party, this or not is this. You're going to talk about independent, me blood clot. What kind of independent? You're a fucking wicked man. And because of blood clot greed, you sit down there for blood clot 8 years and you full of blood clot craw. You understand? And then this is where you do the party, and you do the MP, and you do the people, them minorities, and then you're going to go find the group and you're going to tell the people, them say, because by virtues of the election. You can imagine, you take the codes, serious thing, serious blood to the Jamaica Labour Party, you take the codes like the PMP them. You take the codes like the PMP them. It's because they must know. Jesus Christ, me never expect this. God know me never expect this from Ennis. Me I tell you the naughty people, me the business one who wants it. But me I tell you no one to sit down and look into it. This is wicked. This is more than wicked. You're there in the Labour Party for much years. All of we go through disrespect. All of we go through everything. And you take the seat and give to PMP to blood clot. You can imagine.
Life goes on. Okay.
Rights and all of my Jamaican brothers and sisters that I remain a committed member of the Jamaica Labour Party. There is no issues which may arise that we cannot settle internally. I want to thank everybody at all levels of the party for their love and support. Let us remain fully committed to the cause of working to make Jamaica a better place. God bless you.
It would be interesting for us to know, Little Lockerbie, Kate M., good evening and welcome, how this issue was solved, Mr. Ennis, because you said nothing that you have, that you can deal with internally. Was it dealt with in a way, Mr. Ennis, where a bad man from Western Kingston may have called you, may have paged you, Mr. Ennis? Were you threatened by any dons linked to any JLP politician, Mr. Ennis? Or have you just slept on it and think that, well, I cannot allow Joy to end up with a heart attack, so might as well we solve the problem and go back over? But going back, Mr. Ennis, you didn't sound like it's something that was of your own doing. It didn't sound like something of your own doing. It sounded like something you were either threatened to do, you were forced to do, or you were coerced to do. I wouldn't even say you were paid, Mr. Ennis, because you don't sound so happy like a theater. But as I said, the JLP victorious in the Westmoreland seat, and them okay with that. In Dr. Tufton constituency in Ginger Ridge division, the People's National Party won that seat. Dr. Tufton is not comfortable. Dr. Tufton is not confident in a department run or an agency run from the office of the Prime Minister. I wonder if this could be Tufton, who will be one of the front runner when Andrew Demise move forward. Colin Jones. I wonder, Pauline Dixon, good evening and welcome. Sharon Powell, good evening and welcome. Special, good evening and welcome. I wonder if Mr. Tufton, who will be one of the front runners when they're ready to topple Andrew Holness, I wonder if this is a signal from Chris Tufton that he has no confidence in the office of the Prime Minister. It's just a thought, really, because this is a department run out of the office of the Prime Minister. If it's run out of the office of the Prime Minister, their final reporting would be to the office of the Prime Minister. And Denise Hall, good evening and welcome. No, to make this clear, in the clip, it's a comedy. It's not a real thing. The man that was reading it's just a young man acting out the letter that or whatever speech Ennis gave. I will just replay the naked video for you, but it's acting. Please do not take this serious, as this is any proof or evidence that Mr. Ennis was threatened or that he was under duress. But however, we are asking those questions. But this video that I'm going to play now, it was a sketch done by somebody to, you know how the whole acting world and content creating world goes. Verna Timpson, good morning, good evening and welcome.
All of my Jamaican brothers and sisters.
So this on screen is all an act. To be clear, it's an act. This is not the real incident. Mr. Ennis is a light-skinned fellow, much lighter than this gentleman on the screen. So
I remain a committed member of the Jamaica Labour Party. There is no issues which may arise that we cannot settle internally. I want to thank everybody at all levels of the party for their love and support. Let us remain fully committed to the cause of working to make Jamaica a better place. God bless you.
Right, so just to reiterate, that was acting. That bit of it, it's not to be taken serious. That's just for comedy. So back to Dr. Christopher Tufton. His very problem that he's having now ought to be with his Prime Minister, because the Electoral Commission of Jamaica runs out of the office of the Prime Minister. It was the Prime Minister that disrupted the office of the political ombudsman after Donna Parchment Brown disciplined Michelle Charles and refused to reappoint the office. And only just before the election, the Prime Minister went to Parliament with a legislation taking Dorothy Elliott, good evening, the Ombudsman office into the ECJ. So Chris Tufton's problem ought to be with the Prime Minister, who he is possibly breaching against in order to say, we don't have confidence in a weak under wholeness, maybe it's time for us to change him. But let's see the development of that in the next 6 months, because for the next 6 months, under wholeness is not safe. If he passes the next 6 months, then by all means, they will have to go to the general election with him. Then by all means, they will have to go to the general election with him, because after within a year to the general election, unless something drastically happened, it wouldn't be unwise to change your leader. Then it would be wise to do it now and give whoever will be replacing a week under wholeness time to normalize themselves, get their feet under the table, build their base and their popularity in order to go to the general election. Mavis Gooden, good evening and welcome. In order to go to the general election come September 2025. Short of that, the Jamaica Labour Party will be slaughtered come next September. And just a reminder to the Prime Minister and Mr. Clark. A reminder to the Prime Minister and Mr. Clark. We are counting down with you. We're giving you a reminder of the countdown. You're about 7 to 8 days to go now. We're just keeping it fresh. Like and share the live, please. And if the ad comes on, please support the channel by watching the ads. You know, not because, let me talk to you. Not because I don't know some love work for free. Don't mean that I don't have bills. Me not go ask for super chat or donation. That's a conscience thing. But watching the ads, I will ask for your assistance in that to help the platform revenue grows. But let's get back to them. We are keeping your minds refreshed on a nightly basis, that unless you get around the table, in 10 days, you have a civil service going haywire on a weak government, a wobbling government with a silent Minister of Information. So that is just a reminder. Mr. Prime Minister, Starboy, good evening and welcome. Mr. Flex, good evening and welcome. Paula Llewellyn. The DPP seeks death penalty for the triggerman in the murder of Paul Wells' daughter and her mom. I don't agree with the death penalty. Patricia Matthews, how are you? I do not agree with the death penalty. One, I think it's an easy cop-out. Violet Watson, good evening and welcome. Another thing, there is always a chance that you might get it wrong. Especially in a corrupt country. In a country where justice can be bought or justice can be sold, it's a dangerous precedent to want to continue and support the death penalty. A life sentence can be reversed. Years of sentencing can be reversed. You can also compensate them monetarily if you get it wrong. If you get the death penalty wrong, where you have killed an innocent person, or you have killed someone, the law has taken the life of someone with uncertainty in the evidence, you cannot reverse that. Our country, Jamaica, we should not support the death penalty, not for the worst killer. Let me say why I believe that. Most of us would want the worst type of criminals, such as rapists, pedophilias, and murderers and all that, to receive the death penalty. But in a system where evidence can be tampered with, jury tampering can go on, judges can be bought, police can be paid to stitch up the evidence. It is not a safe thing to have the death penalty without proper check and balances. We see even in America, where time and time they have gotten it wrong with the death penalty. Jamaica is not a country where we should encourage the death penalty. Marjorie Mullins, good evening and welcome. Paula Llewellyn also is misleading the audience, the public, when things like this happen. She did it, which was the other case she did it in? Was it in the Russian Barnett? What the era of Clarendon is called again? The Russian Barnett killing that killed the mother and 4 children. Because of the Privy Council, Liebert Peart, good evening and welcome. We are bound by the Privy Council when it comes to judicial hierarchy. The Privy Council is at the top of the judicial pecking order. Britain have outlawed the death penalty. Even if Jamaica seek to impose the death penalty, it will not be upheld, one, by the Privy Council, and two, the Human Rights Brigade of Campaign that will launch. It makes no sense. Deal with what is practicable, Miss Paula. Life sentence without parole is acceptable. Life sentence, hard labor, Miss Llewellyn. But stop the death penalty argument, because it's not something that we will support, because the system we have, Miss Llewellyn, a lot of our innocent children, particularly young men, could get drawn into that system innocently. We've seen the same issue of the use, the unconstitutional use of ZOZOs and state of emergency, which has seriously affected the liberty of a lot of young people, and a lot of these cases are successful against the government. So you cannot trust a corrupt government, a corrupt judiciary, a corrupt legal system, a corrupt investigative system to implement such an ultimate punishment, for the fact that it's a punishment that in some cases there's a possibility that you could highly likely get it wrong. And if that is the case, that cannot be reversed. So Paula Llewellyn needs to stop confusing us when it comes to the whole legal framework, because she really does when she said certain things. Was there anything else? Yes. Have anybody seen Feather? Have anyone seen Feather? Because today, them just a robe and train the mayor them so Feather. Feather them a put on robe and crown and the mayors, but we haven't seen you at all. Poor Feather is gone. But the issue with KSMC, I wonder if it done so. If what you call her get her joy. If Joy get her joy, say better the two will sit down there and run it. More than you take it and get to the PMP one them. But yes, the mayors were robing and training today, and I know this probably rub Feather the wrong way. Given I'm at Golden, if you don't hurry up and start, you know, so we're going to start create bangarang pa uno. We need the local government audit, Mark Golden. An audit needs to be done right across local government, island-wide. We need to know a lot of things. We need to know, Mark Golden, where a lot of money are. We need to know who are responsible for submitting our budget or whatever expenditure to the contractor or auditor general or whichever department. Dion Campbell, how are you? How are you doing? So we need an audit, Mark Golden, quick and fast. Otherwise, we're going to turn Lego beast by about here. But you must remember, in Portland, just before the election, there was a brewing between Darrell Vaz and one of his the then sitting councillor. Because I know that Portland belonged to the Vazes. The then sitting councillor for the St. Margaret's Bay division in, is it West Portland? Correct me, I be it. St. Margaret Bay, I don't know, say my geography enough, good enough. But the St. Margaret's Bay division, and the gentleman is Stephen Williams. Stephen Williams is the gentleman that was elected to the St. Margaret's Bay division in 2016. Now, before the local government election, when Darrell Vaz was doing his chopping and changing across the place, God knows, I wonder why. I wonder if Miss Diane is going to come to the book club, because we hear say Diane don't know head from foot, and we've invited our shida. We never stuck her. We've invited Miss Dion to a book club, but we don't hear nothing about Miss Dion yet, because me hear say, if you think Mayor Max is a disgrace, you need to hear about Miss Dion Hunter. I thought I queued her somewhere here, but she's not. Hold on. I thought I queued her. Oh, I thought I queued her. Oh, what is this? Oh, sorry about that. But Stephen when they were trying to unseat him, because they weren't following the correct process, as I understand, which is Horace Chang, which is the GenSec for the Jamaica Labour Party, Bobby Montague, who is the chairman, and there was another lady, I think she was permanent secretary or somebody, not sure about that one, but you will get further clarity on that. Dolores Logan, good evening and welcome. So he sought an injunction not to block them doing the selection process, but so that they can follow the time prescribed by the JLP Constitution. So that was in order for them to observe the process. However, they still went ahead and changed and replaced him with, I think, this young man, Mackenzie, I believe. I don't know why my cues weren't properly done. Where is he? I believe this was the young man that replaced him. So he didn't go through. So he was still pursuing his legal challenge after they replaced him. But today he put out some information on his Facebook page. I managed to have a brief chat with him. I wanted him was to come on much earlier, but he will come on at some point next week to explain to you all of what is going on in the family-run parish of Portland. And you wouldn't want to miss that interview either. When Mr. Williams decided to speak, I'm sure you wouldn't want to miss the interview, because you would want to know why they replaced him and what Darrell Vaz and Ann Vaz is up to in Portland. But all in all, in the first paragraph, he thanked his St. Margaret's Bay division in West Portland, yes, who've elected him in 2016 and all that. I am pleased that I was able to make a positive difference in so many lives. Regrettably, I was not selected by the Jamaica Labour Party to continue representing you in the new term, and it was not my desire to switch allegiance nor to have run on an independent ticket. I have moved on to pursue other options while I still remain an ordinary but direct member of the Jamaica Labour Party. I pray and hope that the youth of Jamaica will be given a fair chance in life, in all sectors of society, and that justice and equality must be a standard of measurement of all we do as a country, especially as leaders. My many Portlanders, I am disappointed at the way I was handled and mistreated and disrespected by senior members and looked down on and was mocked and was crucified politically. However, it's my commitment to continue to serve my country and my fellow citizens, whilst I have no intention to return to serve you. Whilst I have no intention to return to serve you at anytime in the future at the parochial level. I will now prepare myself for leadership at a higher level through the grace of God. However, I am happy for the break to spend some time with my immediate family, especially my one and only child, my beloved son, Stephen Jr. With all that said, I have left an improved, clean, and stable division, political and governance-wise, as well as major and significant improved parochial roadworks and drain infrastructure throughout every community in the division. Only 3 parochial roads are outstanding as of the end of my tenure, of which I had already made representation and was awaiting a response from the Ministry of Local Government. These are the Bruton Main Road, Maidstone rather. It Maidstone and another section of the Twickenham Road. I was also able to locate, just before the end of my tenure, $2 million for the completion of the Barracks Road in Mount Pleasant that leads to the community center, as well as $1 million for work to be carried out on drain on Bath Spring Road in Fruitful Vale, and for additional work on the newly rehabilitated section of Twickenham Road. It is now up to your new council to ensure execution of these projects, as the funds are already allocated and the project have already gone through various stages of procurement, etc. It's now only for implementation. A few of the major projects and activities I was able to institute are as follows. All rehabilitation of roads mentioned below, including upgradement of water supply and construction of drains, head walls, and minor retainers. Up to the end of my tenure, the road were debushed and all drains were clean. And he set out a litany of things which he accomplished. However, when Mr. Williams come for his interview, he will set out for you the problem he has with the vases, or the problem the vases having with him, or what is their victimization, bullying, badmanism, donshipism, what is going on in West Portland politics, or for that matter, what is going on in the entire parish of Portland politics. Have the politics of Portland been hijacked by the Vaz family and their powerful purses? As it is said that Vaz spent over 14 million to buy votes across West Portland. Is this the Jamaica we are going to move forward with? A 21st century Jamaica. Myrna reach, me see people big up Myrna. Myrna, what going? I hope you have saved me chicken lobster them, and if you can find any maga wenchman with maga like me throw with it, because I know me don't like eat quality fish. If you can find some maga wenchman, throw with it. The wenchman them were darky would have thrown us in a fish deep. But anything you can buckle up for me and some breadfruit leaf, but I will call you later. But the vases have a control on Portland. And let me say this, people, we need to become active in our politics and take note of the abuses in our politics. And until we, the people, get involved, there are certain things that are not going to change. Maybe it's because they're irritating just me. But one, the whole boys club control of our political party, that need to be dismantled. It is the reason why people who have the people's interests at heart, it's the reason why people with experience are kept out. It is the reason why people with the willpower and want to do for the people are kept out. It is the reason why we have the hereditary system, the old boys club. It is the reason why we have the hereditary system, where Colonel Charles doesn't think he should live his life in politics and then move on. But Colonel Charles have to bring in his daughter, give her a seat. His son, give him a seat. Andrew Holness have to bring in his wife, give her a seat. Darrell Vaz has to bring in his wife, give them a seat. Antonia, how are you? How are you doing? This hereditary boys club system keeps our politics in a very close-knitted, VM, good evening, in a very close-knitted, friend and family-orientated type of politics. And it is hard, really hard for people who really want to do the job. Sometimes people with the expertise to really get there. Breadfruit leaf is good for blood pressure and diabetes, amongst other things. Just look it up on Google. It will give you a list of things that it is good for. It will give you a list of things that it is good for, really. So just do a quick read up on it. I will make the answer again, sorry. Yes, the hereditary boys club politics. It is something that we need to dismantle. It is destroying our politics more and more. It is one of the reasons why we keep becoming, why we're becoming more and more distant from the whole political system, because of how it is controlled and operate. A lot of people just say, "Stud that, me can't bother with more of this nonsense because not change. It's pretty much more of the same thing." And that has caused major disengagement from a lot of people. Another thing that we need to focus on and have change as well, it's our political campaign machine. The type of euphoric running around the country, driving around, blowing Guguzela and other nonsenses without the people being really given policies of how the government will put in place, how much they're going to use to put it in place, and timeline of implementation on all of these things. These are the things that they should be telling you on the, see, I put up the breadfruit information. These are the things that they all should be telling you when they're on the political campaign. But what they rather do is go around and blow a lot of Google's. Take note where it talk about the cardiovascular problem. That is where it's important to, like, diabetes and high blood pressure. So that system of campaigning, we need to change it. We need to lobby to change it, because it is not helping our politics. What it rather more do is keep our people away from that type of politics, because we don't see any benefit to us. We only see one set of people enjoying the spoils, and it just continue like that, and the people's interests continue to shift away from getting involved in the political process, which would assist in changing a lot of these things. So especially coming out of this election, where it has created nothing but confusion for us, I think it's about time for us to start having the debate to look at how we reform the whole election and campaign system, or the party structure system in our country. Thank you very much for being here with us on Global TV tonight. I know is a 1 hour person. It was great to have you all company here. Please join us back tomorrow when we will continue learning together. This was the people's point of view. Thank you very much. If you were listening for the first time and you have not yet subscribed, please do so. If you are a subscriber, please make sure you hit the like button before you exit, if you have not yet hit the like button. Thank you all very much, and please join us back here tomorrow morning for your At a Glance program. This is Global TV.